Good afternoon and welcome to day 4 of the Find Your Time Challenge. Apologies, I'm a few minutes late. Continuing with my Wi-Fi issues. I've just come onto my phone to do it by 4G because that seemed to work better yesterday, only to find that the 4G is down to 3G today. So I'm now back on Wi-Fi but on my phone, so fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Okay, so yesterday I asked you to track your time, either through time software that you already use with clients or through one of the 2 sheets that I'd included in the workbook. So hopefully you've been able to track that today. I know that's a pain in the backside to do, but it gives you a clearer idea of what you're actually spending your time on. And I would definitely recommend that you carry on doing that next week as well, just to get a bigger picture of how you're spending your time. Today was today, and it might have had one-off things, so if you carry on doing that over a few days, you'll get a better picture of it. Okay, so what we're going to do today is start looking at what you're actually going to delegate out. So we need to prioritise all the information that you've got into a list of things that you can start looking to outsource or to delegate to people in your team. So to do this, you're going to need your 3 lists from day 2. So the list of things that you don't like doing, the list of things that you're not very good at, and the list of things that you think aren't good use of your time based on the whole value piece that we did on day 1. So when you put all of these 3 lists together, you will probably end up with quite a long list of stuff that in theory you want to delegate out. Now, I'm guessing it might not be the case, but I'm guessing you're not going to be in a financial position to say, yay, I've got this big long list of things I don't want to do, I'm going to give it to somebody else to do and get rid of the whole lot. If you are, then that's fantastic. But otherwise, we need to start to prioritise those lists. So in the longer term, then hopefully the long game, if you like, is to get rid of all of those things, and that will free up your time to do other things. But in the shorter term, it's going to have to be done a step at a time. So it's about prioritising the long list. So that's where your time tracking from today and next week comes in. So depending on how urgently you want to sort of prioritise your list and get some stuff out there to somebody else to do, will depend on how much time you spend tracking what you're doing. So if you urgently need to get some stuff out, then you might just have to use today's time. If you've got a bit more time, you can perhaps do it for another few days next week, and to just help you with your decision making. Okay, so the time tracking the idea of that is, as I said yesterday, is a bit of a reality check. So that's going to show you what you're actually spending your time on. So what you might see already from today, or if you do it for a few more days, is that something takes up quite a lot of your time, and that something is something that's on one of your lists. If that's the case, then that's going to become one of the priority items, one of the items on the priority list. Okay, so if something is actually taking up a lot of your time and it's on one of your 3 lists, that goes onto the priority list. You may well have quite a few things on those 3 lists that you actually don't do very often, and therefore they're not, whilst in an ideal world you want to get rid of them in the longer term, in the shorter term they don't hit the priority list because they're not actually taking up a lot of your time. Okay, so unfortunately there isn't really a scientific formula at this stage to get your priority list other than what I've just suggested. So it's about going down your 3 lists and then looking at your actual reality check list about what you're actually doing, and pull out, prioritise the things that are actually really taking up your time. And this is why I'm suggesting doing it for longer than 1 day. Okay, and if you can do it over a whole month, so you get a month end view as well and things like that, you kind of get a better picture of what's actually taking up your time to start working out, reducing that big list into a smaller priority list. The other thing that is worth doing at this stage is to start grouping things together that make sensible, that have sort of natural links. So for example, If on one of your lists you've got inputting on your purchase invoices, and on the same list or another list you've got chasing up customers who haven't paid their invoices, there's obviously a natural link there in that they're all classed as bookkeeping tasks. So if you can start to match things up, you might get little groups of tasks that you think actually 2 or 3 of these tasks fall into my priority list, I need to get rid of them. Well, actually it makes more sense just to take the whole group. So for example, bookkeeping, it might only be a couple of the tasks that hit your I hate them or I'm not very good at it list. But actually if you're going to outsource that to somebody, it makes more sense to outsource the whole of the bookkeeping function, and that will release you some more time as well. But it makes it easier for everybody if the same person is sort of in charge of all of that area rather than doing bits and pieces, and it starts getting really messy. So start grouping some of those things together, and that will help when you're looking at what to delegate or outsource, as well as the priority list. Other things, well, I'll take that whole chunk of work then and give that to somebody else. Okay, so that's it really in terms of working out your lists and your reality checking, time tracking, and that last task now is to sort of pull all of that together to start creating your priority list of the things that you're going to start looking for somebody to do for you. And as I say, this is a one step at a time thing, so you're not going to be able to get rid of everything at the same time. So just draw up that priority list and start to think about which are the first things that would be really helpful for you to get rid of. And that's the key to this really. This is about your list and your time. So the system we've been through this week is a guideline to help you sort of pull all those bits together to really think about what's going on with your time, what are you doing with it, what things don't you like doing, aren't you good at, and so your list is going to be very individual to you, and so it's just spending a bit of time to sit down and pull out those priority tasks. Now before we finish, the last thing I wanted to cover was who you can delegate those tasks to once you've decided what they are. Sorry, I feel very weird today because the phone's at a bit of a funny angle and I feel like I'm looking down into it. You can probably see up my nose, which wouldn't be very attractive. Let me just try and prop it up a bit. That will help. That's better. Okay. Okay, yeah, so the last thing I just want to touch on is who you can delegate the tasks to. Now, obviously, if you have employees already in your business, then that's potentially an advantage for you. You've got resources already there that you can push some tasks over to. But I just want to give you a couple of warnings about that. So the danger is, if you've already got people in your business, is that when you're creating the list, and certainly creating the priority list, it's likely that you'll create that list with the people that you've got in the business in mind and their skill set in mind, rather than necessarily picking off the priority tasks from your perspective, if that makes sense. So try and make the list without thinking about who you've actually got in the business. Think about what you actually really need to get rid of. Don't match it up to, oh well, I could get rid of that because I've got somebody, but actually that's a task that doesn't take up much of your time, isn't on your reality, doesn't come across from your reality checklist, or is something that you're pretty good at, or maybe it's not the priority thing, but because you've got somebody there, you kind of think, oh, I'll just get rid of it. Try and think about what is actually your priority, aside of who you've got in the business. The other danger is that you'll do that and you'll create your proper priority list, and then because you've got somebody in the business, you'll start hoofing stuff over to them to do, when actually it's not really their skill set either. So remember, a lot of the things that are on these lists are things that aren't really your skill set, so you're not doing them as efficiently as you could do. You've learned how to do things, but it's not sort of your thing. If you start putting things over to somebody else whose skill set it also isn't, then you've kind of still got the same issue. It's just that you're paying for their time instead of it being your time. So again, look at your proper priority list, and once you've got that, then look at who you've got in your business and see if any of those tasks are suitable to go over to them. If they're not, I would recommend that you then look at outsourcing to an external supplier. And that is the answer for the people who don't have any employees. That is the answer to who do you delegate to. Actually, you look at outsourced suppliers. You start to create your own remote or virtual team of people, and some people don't ever want to employ people, and that's perfectly all right. And there's so many people out there nowadays. A vast majority of small business owners are actually effectively outsourced suppliers in one description or another. So you don't have to have internal people to be able to delegate work to. You just need to find the appropriate outsourced supplier to take it off you. And as I say, if you have people internally but they're not the right people for some of the tasks that you want to get rid of, then looking at outsourced suppliers is another way of doing that. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't have people in your business that you employ and some outsourced people supporting you as well. Those two can work very well together without any issues. So it doesn't mean if you've got a team you can't outsource to external people. What it does mean is it expands the skill set you can get hold of. Okay, so pretty much anything nowadays can be outsourced. So I'm not going to go through a whole list because it could be everything. But the advantage of outsourcing over employing somebody is that you're going to get experts in a particular field, because you can niche down quite a bit and get somebody who's specifically very good at what you want. Whereas when you employ somebody, you're probably getting a bit more of a general. You want somebody with a bit more sort of generalistic skills. Also, when you outsource, you're only paying for the service that you're getting. So you're not paying for holidays, you're not paying for sickness, you're not paying for lunch breaks. You're just paying for when they're working for you. And very often that's flexible, and you don't need to tie yourself into a set number of hours a month. It obviously will depend supplier to supplier, but you've got a degree of flexibility when you're outsourcing as opposed to employing. And obviously also you don't have to provide workspace and equipment as well, so it's a much cheaper way to go and get help fairly quickly. Okay, so I said you can outsource pretty much anything nowadays. So I'm not going to go through a whole list, but just to give you an idea of the sorts of things that you could be outsourcing. So you might decide that you want to start working with a bookkeeper, and they'll be able to take all the day-to-day financial stuff off you and ensure your accounts are up to date. And that means whenever you need to go and get some information, rather than everything being in a box waiting for you to input them, it's all there and you can get information reports that you need. Okay, you might decide that you need some help with your marketing, and you go and find an outsourced marketeer. They'll be able to help you get your business in front of people. Some of them will be social media specialists, some of them will be PR specialists, some of them will be about designing and printing your marketing collateral, so your flyers and brochures and such like. You might also decide you want to work with a copywriter. If writing all the blurb isn't your thing, then you can work with a copywriter who will be able to get your website copy sorted for you. They'll be able to do you weekly blogs, all that sort of written material. If that's not your thing, finding a copywriter who can do that for you, A, might give you more time back, and B, will probably get you better results. And that's the case with all of these. It's about getting a really good skill set into the business. So you're really good at whatever it is you do and you set up your business to do, but as we said earlier on in the week, you will have learned to do some stuff because you had to. But actually, if you're at a stage now you can start paying somebody else to do some of those things because that's their area of expertise, actually your business will benefit as well, because you're going to get better expertise into the business in all of these different areas, and that's only going to be a good thing for your business. So the last one, and for those of you that know me, the obvious one, is a virtual assistant. So virtual assistants can help you with all sorts of day-to-day admin in your business, organising events, typing, email management, all sorts of things. Now, just be wary, don't be wary of VAs, absolutely use them, but just be aware that VAs come in many guises. So it's not a regulated industry. There are no sort of set anythings about it. So lots of people nowadays call themselves virtual assistant. What that means is that you you get a great variety of skills coming under the banner of a virtual assistant. So actually many of the things that I've just listed, the bookkeeping, the marketing, the social media stuff, you will find that there are some VAs who will do some of those things. So you just need to make sure that when you're finding a VA, you make sure that the VA has the skills for the things that you need them to do. And actually, yes, a VA could do you some of the marketing stuff if you find a VA who has a marketing bent. And a VA could do your bookkeeping stuff if you find a VA who has a bookkeeping financial bent. So that's a great big umbrella. So that's really what I'm saying, is just sort of be careful that a VA isn't just, or very rarely nowadays, is just sort of general secretarial skills. They tend to come with a focus on what in one area or another. So you just need to make sure you get a VA that's focusing in the area that you're needing support. Okay, so in terms of going out and finding these people, local networking events are a great place to go and meet people. You get to meet them in a relaxed, friendly atmosphere before you sort of make any commitment. Get to sort of have a feel of whether you like them or not and think you could work with them. Also a great place to get recommendations for people as well. So that's a good start, a good place to start. So the last alternative I want to give you is what I personally would class as sort of less permanent sources of help. So if you're wanting to find somebody who's going to work with you on an ongoing basis and effectively become an employee, although obviously they're not actually an employee, then I would look amongst your local contacts and find somebody that way. But if you want sort of one-off projects or smaller bits and pieces doing, there are other places that you can go and get sort of quick, fairly reasonably priced help. So in the booklet that I'll upload after this, I've given you 3 different websites. So upwork.com, that used to be Elance, if you've heard of Elance. There's People Per Hour. So those sort of websites are where you would put a project up and people would bid. So it can be, and the projects can range all sorts of things. You'll have technical people on there and creative people on there. And so, if you've got one-off projects that you want a particular skill set for, that's a good place to go and upload your project, and people will bid for your work and you can choose who you want to work with. The other one that I've used is Fiverr.com, and that's great. Again, a whole massive variety of jobs you can get done on there, so go on and have a look. But I've used that for things like getting a book cover done if you've got an ebook and you want a book cover designed, things like that. Quick design jobs are great on something like Fiverr, and you pay a $5, so this is $5 to get the work done. So you can get other work done for more than $5, but the idea is it's sort of small jobs like that. Okay, so that's it. That sort of brings us to the end of our 4-day challenge. So hopefully that's been helpful in terms of helping you think about what it is that you're spending your time doing, helping you understand some of the things, which jobs you should be, and helping you think about how you can get that extra help and where you can get that from. Okay, in the booklet as well, just to let you know, if you want to look into the outsourcing thing further, if you're not sure about how that is going to work for you and you want a bit more information and help with that, I've got a webinar that I'm running next week. So that's Thursday the 24th of August. And I'm going to go through in that webinar how to outsource successfully. So the things that you need to know and the things that you need to do that's going to give you a successful relationship with an outsourced employee, an outsourced supplier, I should say, not employee, so that you get back the work that you want and it all is a good, happy working relationship, not anything disastrous and ending up thinking, well, that was a waste of time because they're not doing what I asked them to do. I'm not getting stuff back that I thought I was going to get back. So we want to avoid that. We want to set things up right from the start. So if you want to know more about how to do that and to do that right before you take that step, then the link is in the booklet, and the webinar, as I say, is next Thursday evening. If you can't make next Thursday evening, I've got one a couple of weeks after that. I'll make sure that you get the details for that when the time comes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking part, for watching the videos, for doing the tasks. I'd really love to know how you've got on with it. The group's going to remain open. The challenge will be repeating every couple of weeks, so there'll be more people coming into the group, and I'll be doing the challenge again with them. So if you want to join in again at any point, then please feel free to do so. And as I say, the group's going to stay there, so you can get in touch with me, you can ask me questions, in the group at any point. So I shall look forward to hearing how you've got on. As I say, any questions, just pop them into the group. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.